It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha. Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's version of the Brouhaha. Got a little stuff going on here. We'll give a shout out to our guy, Dale McKee. Dale can't be with us tonight, a little under the weather. Get well soon, Dale. We'll see you in a day or two. Got with us Charlie Britton, stepping up to the plate again. Charlie's, I use that stepping up to the plate because Charlie knows a lot about baseball. We're going to just find out how smart he is here in a minute. And then, boy, did we have a treat. I'm telling you, this is one we've been saving, and we pulled it out, and we're going to let everybody get a dose of K-Dog tonight on the Brouhaha. We've been wanting the Brouhaha, Kenny, so bring it to the table. Welcome aboard.
You finally got down those 2 pages of names you already had and walked through them all. So.
I put him off as long as I could, boys and girls, but here he is.
No choice now.
Good to have you with us. Good to have you with us. We'll start out tonight looking at our sideline view here, and you know, Charlie and I got a copy of it. And Charlie, it looks here like Southern Mississippi Golden Eagles, according to Dale, getting kind of hot at the right time with this baseball stuff going on. I mean, kind of give us your thoughts on Mississippi college, you know, baseball in Mississippi at the Mississippi college level.
Well, Southern Miss is not the only one getting hot. You know, this is, if you're going to get hot, this is the time to do it because conference tournaments coming up, possibly hosting regional tournament, and Southern's got 5 or 6 game winning streak right now. I think Mississippi State's playing really good right now. They didn't win the series this weekend in Arkansas, but they had a great opportunity to win it. I think they led 6-1 yesterday, and bullpen let them down. They've had some bullpen problems, and you know, I don't know, but they're playing good at this time. And you know, let's go to Ole Miss. They've been terrible all year. I really have. They can't pitch, they can't hit. But how did they win 2 games against Texas A&M? And then yesterday they went back to their old self and got beat 6-0. So I don't know. They hadn't been very good. So
what about the Bulldogs, Kenny?
Well, you know, they needed to get at least one against Arkansas. Yeah. And they did. Now they had a chance to. I mean, they really had a chance to sweep. They got ahead, I think, all 3 games, but you know, if you can't hold a lead, you're just not going to win. I've been impressed. Southern Miss is they've swept 2 weekends in a row, had sweeps,
right?
And they're coming along good now. You know, they play Ole Miss, I think, tomorrow night.
That's right,
or tonight.
Yeah, tonight.
Geez, I say tomorrow night. That's Wednesday. That'd be Wednesday. That would be right.
Be having church up there.
Yeah, but I mean, even if USM beats Ole Miss, it doesn't hurt Ole Miss because of what they've done. I mean, it's their conference record that they've got issues with.
Yeah,
they get their conference record up better in the next week. They got a better chance going into Hoover to make it because their RPI is good.
Yeah.
And the thing about Southern Miss is even if they beat Ole Miss tomorrow night, it still doesn't help their RPI enough to give them the boost they need, but they're in a pretty good spot.
This time of year, you just got to win. That's what you need to do is win.
Just win.
Yeah.
Then this is the time of year to do it.
That's right.
William Carey, I see, according to Dale here, has won the SSAC tournament and will host a 4-team tournament that began Monday in Hattiesburg, the number 2 seed behind Mid-American Christian Oklahoma. William Carey's got a really good baseball program. They won a lot of ball. They've won about as many as anybody around here, hadn't they?
Bobby Halford has been coaching forever down there, that baseball team.
I was going to say,
I don't
he's
know
been
how
there.
many years.
I mean, I think Moses had a 2-year scholarship, didn't he? Or was it Noe? One of them.
He's been there a long time, and he's still doing it.
Yeah. Delta State's 32-22, the 6th seed in the Tampa Regional. That'll begin Thursday. So a lot of Mississippi schools doing well in baseball at the JUCO level. You know, we talk about this every week. The tournament's going on at Pearl River Community College. A lot of action there. We'd like to give a shout out to East. I think I was talking to Wayne Carlisle about prospectively that this district that these Mississippi schools are in, he's got a son that plays for East Central. We talk about him a lot. They may have 3 or 4 schools in the series. Charlie, is that what we were talking about earlier?
I kind of missed that, but I was thinking in the World Series you only have 8 teams.
Yeah.
And the big with the Ole Miss State, the NCAA, you have 8 teams that make the World Series. Now this junior college could be different. I'm not sure.
And I couldn't be out of line on that, but I do think they have a chance for sending more than one to the series. Because, for example, East Central has got 50 wins, got more wins than anybody in the JUCO level in their division. They're number 1 in the polls. So if they were to come up short and not win, they're going to take, I think, 2 or 3 at large, I think is what I heard of that JUCO deal. And if they do, then certainly East Central would be sitting in a mighty good place, considering they've been number 1 all but about 2 weeks of the whole year. So there's a good chance that they might could get in without winning. So
just to be clear, in Division I, you have 16 regionals, and then you have 8 super regionals, and the 8 winners of the super regionals go to the World Series. Now, like I say, it may be different in junior college. I'm not sure.
Well, in Mississippi, when you look at any other state, I don't care, Florida, Georgia, even Texas, when you look at baseball in this state from the JUCO level up,
it's crazy.
It's good.
Yeah.
And it has been for years. And that's the thing that when you see folks like East Central and Jones and some of the others, I mean, and some of these guys are going on to State or Ole Miss or USM or even a lot of out-of-state places. But, man, we have some good baseball played in Mississippi.
Well, Wayne County's got a pitcher, Connor Pittman. He's going to Memphis. East Central's got a kid that played at Wayne Academy, the Cooley kid. He's going to La Tech. So I mean, there's kids from right here stepping up playing baseball into the next level. It's good to see. Tell you what, guys, we're getting in here pretty good. Let's take a break and hear from one of our sponsors, and then myself and Charlie and the one and only K-Dog, Kenny Odom, will be right back with you after this commercial break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back to Brouhaha, everybody. Marshall Wood, Charlie Britton, and Kenny Odom. Ready to go. Paul, not Paul. You're not Paul. You're not Paul Skeen. You're who are you? You're Charlie Britton. With your little Ole Miss shirt on there, by the way. But anyway, we won't get into that. I understand LSU had him a real good baseball pitcher last year, and he got drafted. Was he the number 1 pick and all that kind of stuff, or do you remember? But anyway, they called him up just recently, didn't they, Charlie? Tell us how that works and give us an update on what's supposed to be the best college pitcher in baseball last year.
Well, I think he would probably been the number 1 draft choice. I'm not 100% sure about that, but now most of the time when you're coming out of college or even high school, you go to professional league. They have single A, double A, triple A. And most of these guys go there and they try to get better. I'm sure there's probably some folks that went from college straight to the pros, but most of the time they send them and try to develop them a little bit more before they go to major league. So, But this guy here, he's a real deal. What we saw last year.
Yeah.
Apparently he did good Friday night.
What did he do?
Looks like he pitched about 4 innings. They took him out top of the 5th. They had rain and a 2-hour rain delay. And the Pirates were leading 6-1 when he came out. Yeah. And of course, he didn't go back in after sitting 2 hours.
Yeah.
Put their bullpen, and they lost the lead. And I think the Pirates eventually won it, maybe the 9th inning. So he didn't get a decision, but it looks like he had a good outing here. He gave up 7 hits and maybe 3 runs. So 100-mile-per-hour fastball. I think they clocked him a few times at that.
Well, did he use another pitch that was rolling in there about 95? I don't know a whole lot about the pitches, but the fastball, I understand, you throw it as hard and as fast as you can. He's at 100 plus.
Yeah.
But he had another pitch that was in there about 95. What was that?
It was a changeup.
Was it?
It runs 95, 96.
Changeup was 95 miles an hour?
They claimed that he can't throw anything under 92 miles an hour. And look, once you get above about 45 or 50, I'm out. I
Man.
mean, it looks like it's smoking, but this guy is supposed to be. I mean, his changeup is supposed to be about as fast as his fastball. I'm not sure they can tell much difference. I know I couldn't. It'd be like the deal where it's, boy, that sounded a little high when it went past.
Sounded a little high. Oh, I'll tell you what, I'd hate to know I'd be standing up there staring down a 100 mile an hour fastball coming at me. I've been hit with upside the head before, and it don't feel good. I'll tell you what, these kids are moving up the pro schemes, moved up. We got some guys that were drafted in this most recent NFL draft, Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors, partners down there at LSU, and they find out you might not can do things quite the way you used to do it. Was in college. I'm looking at the headline right here, Kenny. I mean, what, did they get in a little trouble or anything happen with them guys?
Yeah, they were sitting around the dorm room, I think, one night. He said, I'll bet $10,000 I go higher than you do in the draft or get Rookie of the Year, I think, in that offensive race. And turns out that's not exactly legal in most places, unless in Nevada.
Yeah.
But they got in a little trouble, so they had to call that off. And
We're just kidding.
Yeah, we're
just joking.
We're just playing around.
That's right.
Should athletes be able to bet on games? Is that something?
Well, okay, I'm glad you brought that up. But as we, I just want to just slide this on the table. This name on the table we talk about, Pete Rose. Hall of Fame or not? His problem was what? Betting on games.
Betting on games
kept him out of the Hall of Fame. Would you put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame? I'm gonna bet. Charlie, I'm gonna ask you first. Would you put him in? Just simply, don't explain it. Yes or no.
I would.
You would?
I would put him in.
Kenny, would you put him in?
No.
All right. Well, I got a tiebreaker here. I think you got to stand for something or you fall for anything. I go back and forth, Charlie. I really do. I go back one time, I would say put him in. Everybody's doing it. But, like we was raised up, just because everybody's doing it don't make it right, I loved him, man. Charlie Hustle, he was something else, man. But that's what kept him out. And there's been a big lobbying group for years and years and years to get him in there, but they hadn't let him in yet.
Now, if you say, does he belong in the Hall of Fame? Yes. Yeah. He belongs in there.
Yeah.
But the rules at the time said you didn't bet on baseball. And, you don't like the rules, change them.
Yeah.
But that's, Mark McGwire and some of those guys with those steroids, you look at that and you think, no. Rafael Palermo. Raffy was a guy that ought to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But he's not because, according to him, somebody slipped him a Mickey.
Yeah.
Did they? I don't know. Is it fair? No, I don't think it's fair because Will Clark, those two guys used to slap some baseballs pretty well. And, the fact that he's not there and it hurt him that much, those were the rules. Now, how they got broke, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, Rose, if there's anybody that's ever played baseball outside of Babe Ruth and those guys from the 40s and 50s, he ought to be right in there with them. But those are the rules.
Those are the rules. Okay, some rules have changed. Now, we're going to talk about Reggie Bush got his Heisman Trophy back. Why? Because what got it taken away is okay now. So they let him have it. Let's look at the NFL gambling policies for players. NFL players are allowed to make bets, but only for non-NFL events through legal sports books. Those bets can also be placed anywhere with the exception of any team or league facility. Should a player bet on an NFL event, that results in a 1-year suspension. Calvin Ridley, for example. Should a player bet on non-NFL event but do it from a team or league facility, he's hit with a 6-game suspension. All NFL personnel are banned from placing or facilitating an NFL event bet that is channeled through a third party. So I was thinking there might be a window there if they're changing the betting for a little bit. If they make it legal, then you'd say slide old Pete right in there? Would you say you wouldn't allow for the current rules to go back? He broke the rules when they existed, so that's good enough to keep him out forever. That's a hard line, but I respect that. I do, and I would expect that from you.
Reggie Bush, he just got caught doing what everybody else is doing. Who in their right sober mind would not recognize in the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s that certain players got paid and others different. You just go look in the parking lot around the athletic dorm when they had one.
Yeah.
At who was getting paid and who wasn't. But retroactive, I could kind of understand it. But I mean, if you do that, then you got to go look at rules and say, okay, look, the rules now are you can bet on baseball or whatever. And
So you let him back in?
yeah, I mean, at that point, if they go back and make it retroactive to that point, I mean, you'd have to say, okay, well, now it's no longer considered against the rules.
Yeah.
Now, that question, do I think that's right? No. I mean, I think you play under the rules you have at the time.
Yeah.
And you're going to go back and try to fix something that wasn't broke at the time.
Yeah.
Just to make people happy.
Right.
But
Just to make Charlie happy.
and look, I do not disagree at all that he doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But it's like a lot of other things in life. I mean, you know, how long has marijuana been illegal? So now.
Marshall can.
Well, you could say no. You don't need to comment on that.
Why is it that I'm not to comment on that? Are y'all trying to make some kind of insinuation here? I may have to go Clinton on you guys around here.
But it's sort of like
I did not.
it was. We never inhaled. But the thing is, though, is that you try to sometimes right a wrong, but in this case, there was not a wrong done to Pete Rose. He was playing under a certain set of rules. Yeah. Now, if they change, but I still don't think it's a good idea to let them bet on sport. I mean, because there's always these instances of people shaving points or first one. You always thought it was weird until I got to where I could understand it, that you had to tell everybody who's hurt. Pro football, basketball, you have to, if somebody's injured, you can't just hide that fact and them not play. You got to. I'm trying to think, why is that a big deal? You want anybody to know your star quarterback's hurt, but that can influence bettors and gamblers. If they don't know, they'll bet a certain way. But if they do know, that takes that element out of it.
So, I'm asking this question. So there's patterns and rules in place that, say, for example, in the NFL, you have to put an injury report out.
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting. I
mean, and it's all directed toward that sort of thing. So you can't sandbag somebody, and next thing you know, Roger Staubach doesn't show up because he's broke both legs and an arm, and he can't play. Well, people betting on Dallas or whatever to win when he played, but they didn't know he was hurt. So
doesn't that take an element out of your coaching though? Doesn't that take an element? How do you feel? Should that be known? I mean, where do you stand on that, Charlie? If you get somebody hurt, I mean, and you have to tell, you wouldn't want to tell them, would you?
I wouldn't, but as Kenny said, it's policy in the NFL. I think that they have to.
Policy.
Yep.
I mean, I'm with Charlie. I mean, if I got a guy hurt that's a top guy, I don't want the other team. I want them to have to scheme for him.
Yeah.
I want them to have to waste 20 hours of practice that week getting ready for that guy.
This is an Ole Miss Rebel and a Mississippi State Bulldog taking the same position on some folks, and you heard it on the Brouhaha right here. We can hey, if I can change, you can change, we can all change. But anyway, that's Rocky Balboa from Rocky IV, in case you guys didn't know it. All righty. Have we about beat that horse to death yet? Or what?
Let's see if it'll live.
I'll go ahead. I've mentioned this on the show before. We talked about baseball a little bit. I'd never been to a college baseball game until you took me a couple of years ago up there to watch the Bulldogs play the Fighting Irish at Notre Dame in that Super Regional. It was the largest crowd at a Super Regional in the history of the world. I believe it was 14,800 something people at the time. That was a lot of fun, Kenny. I really appreciate it.
It ended well.
It did. It went all the way, man.
Anytime you can beat Notre Dame, man, that's a Jim Dandy. And Ole Miss has done it to them a time or two over the years. Smoked them on the football field, and I didn't cry any tears. No, not at all.
Marshall and I have talked about 1977. I was there, and with Dale McKee, who is not with us today, me and him went to the game. I can't remember. Maybe y'all didn't get to go or something.
I gave my tickets to Jackie and Jerry Cole. Big Ole Miss graduate, big Ole Miss fans, and I had tickets because it's at the Memorial Stadium, and I always had tickets to all the games at Memorial Stadium. And it was so hot, I said, I ain't going. Jackie and Jerry went.
It was hot, I'll tell you, and humid. And there were 4 people sitting right in front of Dale and I, and they were from Chicago. And about halftime they said, "It is this weather. How do y'all stand this?" Well, they left at halftime. They couldn't take it anymore. It was terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, it would look like it was hot and watching. I think
it was 100 degrees, and the humidity might have been 100.
Oh, it was
It was a
terrible.
glorious day.
It was hot.
Well, I guarantee you, if you were there, you probably heard Jackie because she could let it go, buddy. But anyway, we talk about it's a big deal. We talk about that. I know you've seen some big things. What of the things in the sporting events that we've gone to? What thing of all the, regardless of whether it's your team, whatever, is there any particular thing that sticks out in your mind as being the biggest moment that you've probably ever seen in sports if you were there for?
That
you were there
present
for.
at a
Yeah.
game or a competition.
I'm going to go ahead and buy a little time. I've talked about for you to think because this is all come throwing at these guys.
Oh, I already know.
Oh, you okay? Okay, well, okay. Go ahead. You go.
It was regionals when State was playing Florida State back in the late 90s. Burke Masters got up and slapped that grand slam to beat them. And if you could have got 15 or 18,000 in around Duty Noble, you could have. But I don't know. That crowd was probably 12,000, 13,000 or so. But I mean, State's on the ropes and they're down 3 runs. And Burke Masters, who is now a Catholic priest, must have got up and genuflected or something. But when he slapped that I think it was like a 2-1 count or whatever, and he slapped that thing out in the left field lounge. Man, that was, to me, that's the best baseball game I've ever sat and personally watched.
Yeah.
Now, Notre Dame win was big. I mean, there's a lot of big ones, but being there, that was when that guy, and then he gets out of baseball and he's in the Lord's business now.
Yeah, that's good business.
Yeah, it is.
Charlie, you got one?
I just can't think of one right now.
Well, you keep thinking. I got one. I was in New Orleans in Tulane Stadium. I can't remember the year because I was a lot younger then, and the Saints were playing the Lions, Detroit Lions. Alex Karras and his bunch. Old Mongo was out there playing football, and old Tom Dempsey strolled out there at the end of the game and kicked a 63-yard field goal with his club foot, bless his heart. And that was the longest field goal in history for a long, long time. But I happened to be at that game, and I remember that like it was yesterday. Man, it was exciting. It looked like that ball turned it rotated end over end, side by side. It just almost went backwards and turned around and went back to go through. It seemed like it took forever to get there, but it was quite a day.
Something interesting that it's different now. The goalposts were on the goal line.
Yeah.
It wasn't 10 yards deep, so
Yeah.
it made him look like he was on the other.
Yeah.
What,
Yeah, it was
40?
Yeah, that's right. It's the same distance.
Same distance, but he was on the.
But he was
47.
further away than he
He's
would have
on-
been had
yeah,
it been
he's
at the
on the
back of. Yeah, it would have been
He's on
10
the
yards
other
closer to the goal line.
Yeah.
But it did. It looked crazy, and it seemed like it took forever for it to get there. But when it did, Tulane Stadium, man, they used to stomp
them old metal bleachers.
They lighted up, man.
You think about just the difference in mechanics between his kicking motion and the way that these soccer style guys do it now. I mean, they have, in my mind, they have more momentum going to the football by the way that they kick.
Yeah.
But this guy was like basically 2 steps and just straight on. And it just but he'd had to have been on in today's game. He'd have had to been on the 37 of the other team.
37, that's right.
Yeah, he'd had been on the 37, and so it was just amazing.
It was quite a day.
Yeah, that would have been fun to see.
That was pretty cool. I go back and talk about the greatest athletic accomplishment. I throw that question out there, and I mean, of course, I could say that. For mine, that I'm talking about person or there or whatever, the greatest athletic accomplishments. I go back to a couple of things. I think of the 1980 hockey team. I can remember that. I think of Secretariat's Triple Crown run. He's not a human, but he's an athlete, and I don't think that's ever been the way he did it has ever been matched. I think he set a record in every one of those things, and I'm not sure if maybe 1 or 2 of those records don't still stand. That's crazy. How many sprinters from the 70s, are still got was still their real world record? So Usain Bolt changed everything, and that goes. But what about you guys? Y'all got some other things that you've seen as a child or growing up that sticks out as great? Kenny, you shared that with Charlie. You haven't come up with one yet.
Jim, I wasn't there, but I saw y'all remember Jim Ryan running the first sub 4 minute mile.
Yeah.
And then go back.
Was that in '68?
Maybe, I'm not
Was
sure.
that in Mexico?
Mexico City, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
the Olympics. You got that high atmosphere up there.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I'll just share this one with you guys. And I don't know if I ever told Marshall, but anyway, we were in New Orleans back in the probably 70s, and we're going to see the Philadelphia 76ers play the New Orleans Jazz, and we got there early, and we were walking around the Superdome, and here come these guys. I'm thinking, man, there's some big old tall guys there. And I told those guys with us, I said, that looks like the Philadelphia 76ers, a team. And I said, if Dr. J's there, I'm shaking his hand. And he was with them.
He was there.
He was with them. And I shook his hand. And that was, that's a pretty big, I was 18, 17, 19 years old. That was a pretty big deal. And I always liked Dr. J.
I get that.
But that was a big deal for me, to get to shake his hand.
I'm with you. This doesn't qualify with shaking Dr. J's hand. But we was at the Howard Johnson in New Orleans. We used to go to a lot of the Saints games. Julian Fagan punted for the Saints, went to Ole Miss. His daddy and my daddy were real good friends. So J.W. Fagan had tickets to all the Saints games. We'd go down there to all the games and sit. So my friend and watch them. So we were staying at the Howard Johnson's, of all places, in New Orleans. This is in the 70s. And James Williams and I, Rat, many people know, we were down there and we were sitting down there. It was probably 10:30 or so. And we was sitting down there at the Howard Johnson's, got a hamburger and French fries at the bar. They had a little bar in there, Of course, it wasn't a drinking bar; it was a food bar. Let me get that. Well, I have been in the other one. We won't talk about that.
That's your story.
But anyway, who walks in but Archie Manning, Jake Cup, and Dan Abramowitz, and they came down and sat down by us. And I'll never forget, Archie Manning was singing, "I Want to Take You Higher," and he'd slam a quarter down on the table, as he was singing. And he got to looking at my French fries. That joker got a French fry off my plate. And he looked at me and grinned. We never had no conversation or anything, but I always remember that. I thought that was pretty cool. He kind of winked at me when he got that French fry. I started slapping him, but I didn't. That was pretty cool. Let's see here.
Dale McKee and I got in the elevator with Charlie Pride.
Get out of here.
Sure did.
Oh, man.
Jackson, Mississippi. Charlie had a son, I think, that played for Texas A&M, if I'm not mistaken, and they were playing Ole Miss and Jackson. And Dale McKee said, "That's Charlie Pride right there." And I said, "Yeah." We shook his hand and went on about our business. But that's pretty cool at the moment.
Well, I did get an autograph from Bill Monroe. This ain't sports related. He was in the parking lot of what's the
That wasn't Flash
chain?
Monroe's brother, was it?
No. This was a mandolin picker. But yeah, that was Cracker Barrel.
Oh, man.
Outside of Tennessee there one time. That's about as next closest brush I had was Tom Good, who was the center that snapped punt for the field goal for the Colts to win. Oh God, what was that? 68,
60s,
somewhere 70, right along in there. Met him and got a copy of his book, and the name of the book was Guts, God, and the Super Bowl. Yeah. And he had a hand that it looked like you could have set 3 pie plates in it, and they still wouldn't have got the edge of that hand. But his knees were tore up. I mean, he was on that was his last season.
Yeah.
And he got picked up by the Colts, and that was a thrill to meet him. A nice guy, huge guy, but a nice guy.
Didn't he play at East Mississippi?
I think so.
Bull Sullivan?
Yeah, Bull. And that's another one. You can spend 3 weeks on his Bull Sullivan.
Did he coach?
He coached some. He coached a while at State, I know, and I don't know where else he coached.
There was a coach.
If you played for Bull Sullivan, you left there a man. You might have went in a boy, but you come out a man.
I think Coach Bubba Davis may have played with him at Mississippi.
He did. He did. I remember him talking about that. Well, guys, time sure does fly when you're having fun. And we're about close to the end. We didn't even take a second break. We went all the way to the end.
It'll be all right.
It'll be all right. Charlie, appreciate you, brother.
Enjoy it.
Always
Thank
stepping up to the plate and helping us out. Kenny, you've had it now. You're hooked.
We got you. We got our hooks in you.
That's okay. I got 2 good loggers on the
We appreciate you being with us tonight. We do want to remember our friend Dale. We're going to get back to Dale in a minute, but I want to thank you everybody for listening in tonight, and let you know that you can keep up with us on Facebook at the Brouhaha. We got all of our shows cataloged on our YouTube channel that you can listen on demand at the Brouhaha. But like I said, it's time for us to say goodbye. So I tell you what, let's say it. Goodbye, Dale. And we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.